Hello, I'm Chris from Johnson Plastics Plus. Today we're diving into ADA signage. We will cover why ADA signage is important, how to design it properly, and how to create it using the Vision Rotary Engraver. ADA compliant signs are essential for making public spaces accessible to everyone. They include raised elements such as pictograms, text, and braille. Proper color contrast as well as a non-reflective matte or eggshell finish is imperative so individuals with visual impairments can navigate buildings safely and independently. The Vision Rotary Engraver is a go-to tool for producing precise, professional, quality ADA signs. Let's walk through how to make one from start to finish. First up, materials. ADA signs require high contrast, non-reflective, durable materials. And some great options include acrylics with contrasting top and core layers, for example, Romark's ADA Alternative line. Engraving plastics designed for tactile finishes, such as Romark's LaserMax reverse light blockers. You want to make sure that your material has enough contrast between the background and text, and that the surface can support raised lettering and braille beads. Now let's design the sign. Using your design software, create a layout that includes raised letters in a legible font with consistent stroke thickness, no scripts, serifs, or italics, braille beneath the text using a translator to ensure accuracy, appropriate spacing, text size, and margins following ADA guidelines. Text and braille can also be created within the Vision software and added to the imported artwork. Once your design is ready, import it into the Vision engraving software. Okay, so we brought our artwork in from our layout software, and we're going to do a few additional steps in order to set this design up for actually creating the ADA sign on our engraver. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to designate some colors for the different components of the sign. You can see right now there's a red outline for the substrate or the sign backer. Our pictograms and text is already in this pink color, and then we have our braille text right here. And in order for the software to recognize it as engravable braille text, we kind of have to manipulate this just a little bit. So currently this braille is kind of like a placeholder. So what we're going to do, we're going to create this braille with the actual cells so that the software knows that we want it to drill out braille holes. So get my text tool here, and I'm just going to type out the word restroom. And then we will highlight it. So I can highlight it. And then we'll use the braille translation tool up here. Click that. And now you can see that the letters have changed into the proper braille that we need for the sign. And you can also see now that there's the cells for each character included. So now we can move our braille over to our sign, and we're going to kind of put it in place of where the original braille placeholders were before. And we'll go ahead and center this. And then we can go in and kind of delete out the other braille that's in there. Like that. And now the braille section of our sign is ready to go. But now we got to also set our cut paths for our pictograms and our text. And so to do that, we're going to select our items. We'll go to our toolpath tools. We'll go to the mail setting. And we're going to select the 10,000th bit or 0.010 bit. And the depth we're going to set to 0.03125. That's about 1/32 of an inch. And then we'll say OK. And now you can see that we have our lines, our actual cut lines that are going to be used to cut around the outside edges of our pictograms and our text. Now it's time to set up your Vision Rotary Engraver. So we'll go ahead and place our sign substrate or backer onto the table, putting it in the 0 point of the bed. We'll peel off our masking. And we're going to start out drilling our braille holes into our sign backer. So we're going to place our braille bit into the spindle. And we're going to adjust our micrometer to 0. and we will need to zero our bit to the nose cone. So we'll go ahead and do that. Now we're going to set our micrometer to get our depth of 42 thousandths. So we'll go ahead and turn this to 42 thousandths. And this involves going past the highest point, 20, and back to 0. So that's 25, 30, 35, 40, 41, 42. So now we're going to place our braille setter into the holder. And we'll notice that there's a pin on the back and there's also a hole on the top collar. And we're going to align the pin to the hole so that the pin goes through the hole in the back. We're going to leave this loose at first here so that we can set our correct depth that we need for our braille setter. And we'll do that on the touch screen of the engraver. We need to set our depth setting for our braille setter. So to do that, we're going to go into the Set XYZ. And then we have our buttons to move the engraver around. So we're going to bring it over top of the material. We can slow it up or speed it up or slow it down if we need to. And then we're going to lower the Z-axis down. The top of the pin lines up exactly with the top of the hole in the collar of the braille setter. Once we have that, we'll hit Set Surface. And then we can go back to our main screen. So once we have the braille setter surface set ready to go, we need to remember to make sure to pull the braille setter up and tighten it so that it's out of the way and it doesn't get damaged when we drill the holes. And now we're ready to send the job. The machine will first engrave the braille dots. Now it is paused for us and we're going to go ahead and lower our braille setter all the way, and then we'll tighten this back up and then we will hit continue. And the job is done, and we'll go ahead and raise our braille setter back up out of the way. And we'll hit continue one more time. Once the job is finished, ensure the inserted braille dots are rounded and readable by touch, and that the text has clean, well-defined edges. Next, we will change the tool and set it up to cut out the raised text. So now we're ready to take out our braille drilling bit and our braille setter. And we're going to move on to the tactile side of the sign. So we'll remove this, and we'll also take out our bit. First, we're going to set our micrometer back to 0. Now that we're at 0, we'll put our profile cutting bit in. And we're going to 0 the bit to the nose cone. And then for the cutting depth, we're going to set it just a little past the actual depth that we need, just to make sure that we kind of compensate for the adhesive on the back of the tactile material. So we're going to put the depth to about 33 thousandths deep or so. So at 0 again, 25, 30, 31, 32, 33. And now we're going to take our material that we're going to use for the tactile letters, which in this case is our Rowmark ADA 1/32 inch material. It has an adhesive backing on it already, so we're going to peel that off. And now we're going to take our material and we're going to place it right where we need it for the raised tactile letters. And when we lay this down, we want to really be careful not to push hard on the material, because we don't want it to stick really hard. We want it to just tack very lightly so that we can peel it off later when we need to. So we're going to place it right just a little bit above the braille and just lay it and just barely touch it like that. And now we're ready to send our job to the engraver. All right, so the next step is to weed off the material we don't need. And we'll take our pick tool to pick out the centers of letters and things. The finished results of the ADA sign should be clean and smooth. Precision in the sign making process matters. It's not only about the appearance of the sign, but also about accessibility. Does the sign perform the task it is intended for? Once the engraving is complete, wipe down the surface of the sign using a coarse bristled brush to remove any remaining debris. Double check that the sign meets height, spacing, and tactile guidelines. Now it's ready for installation. And that's how you make an ADA compliant sign with the Vision Rotary Engraver. If you're looking for materials, cutters, or braille kits, everything you need is right at jpplus.com. If you have any questions, our expert team is always here to help.